Hi, everyone. This week I'm talking about the book, The People Stack: Why Change Fails and What Actually Fixes It by Julie Ann Whitten, who I have had on the Still Team Human podcast and who has spoken at events that I have produced. This book is all about change management, a hot topic for obvious reasons. What is refreshing about this book is the fact that Whitten explains how to reach the people, we the people, thus the title, The People Stack, as opposed to the tech stack. She explains what the people go through whenever you ask them to take on these transformations. And I know that seems like an obvious topic and something we probably all should be considering. And indeed, we should. However, a lot of the time, the people get overlooked in lieu of how this change is going to impact the bottom line, how the technology is, and what kind of prestige comes with acquiring such technology and the newest stuff, and also the data that is behind all of this with the ability to continuously make impact uh, based on these numbers. And people get overlooked for the numbers, is what I'm trying to say. And this book undoes that. She describes the people stack as the invisible human operating system, and it consists of sustainment, belief, capability, alignment, and clarity. She provides frameworks to help people better manage transformation. For example, ACT, is how leaders reinforce the people stack in practice, and it stands for acknowledge, clarify, and translate. She also describes the role that leaders play, how AI is imposing transformation on us all, and she offers a state of being for leaders that she calls confidence. The book is such an easy read. You can get through this in a couple of days or even hours if you can sit and focus. And it is memorable for these acronyms and descriptions. And while they may seem cutesy and a little funny, they are a great way to help you remember things, these bits of advice, these ways to actually make sure that people are being accounted for in the transformation. And it could lead to more success. It certainly seems to me that this would be a more successful path to change. And indeed, there are gems that will stick with you like glue. For instance, there is a description of animals that describe how different people behave in times of change and uncertainty. Are you a wolf, a tiger, an ostrich? Well, you'll find out if you read the book. Whitten explains the importance of training and how learning is continuous. Many of us have realized training is only step one. We need to keep learning, especially in this day and age. And indeed, successful organizations must incorporate learning into the flow of work, especially with these rapid advancements. She reminds leaders that people must have space to fail and make mistakes. We are human. That's what this whole podcast and blog are about, in fact. And we make errors, and we have to be able to do that so we can learn from them, so that we can tweak what we're doing, so we can come to greater conclusions, come up with more innovative ideas. And if you don't have that comfort level, which is vital, you will never get to where you need to go. And people will revert to what they know. If they think they can't fail, they will not adopt the new technologies or initiatives or procedures because they'll go back to what they do know and what they are certain they can be successful at. So, this is a really vital part of change that is beautifully described in the book. Two things that really won me over in this book. First, Whitten incorporates her personal stories in a couple of instances to help readers relate, and I always appreciate that. It also helps you to remember things about change management. It also shows that change management is not just for leaders of big businesses, it is a basic skill that we all need to learn as individuals, also. And the second thing that really caught me was the fact that she wraps transformation around the people, their needs and emotions, and their reactions to change. Even if we sometimes pay lip service to this side of change, we rarely focus on what's happening in people's heads and hearts when they're asked to transform. It's not easy, and it actually gets harder as you age, which I'm experiencing. It definitely has for me. And besides the fear that is inspired by uncertainty, there is a sadness at leaving behind an old routine or habit or expectation for newer pastures, regardless of how much better they may be, or regardless of how great AI is, you know? This book pays homage to that feeling and then helps you get over it and helps others on your team to get over it, which is really important. I thought that was a very human way to look at it and to understand change and to help people understand how to arrive at change and stick with change. One passage that really pulled me into the book like no other was really describing how I'm feeling at the moment. And I think a lot of people can relate to this in this age of AI. Quote, after years of operating in roles where my expertise felt clear and well established, I found myself in a different landscape. The work I had done for years still mattered, but the context around it was shifting. Expectations were evolving. The pace of change was accelerating. Intellectually, I understood what was happening. Emotionally, it was something else entirely. Confidence that had once felt automatic required conscious rebuilding. Familiar patterns no longer produced the same results. Questions that had once been theoretical suddenly became personal. End quote. I thought that was a really marvelous way to explain what she was feeling. And it puts words around the feelings that many of us have right now. It's a very vulnerable passage. And I find it interesting because you wouldn't think of that in a book that features frameworks for business, even if it is about change management. And that's really what this gets at. Change is not just about, the bottom line or arriving at these goals of, adopting a certain new technology, for example. It is also about what the people on your team are going through and how you're going to arrive at that transformation together, which is a very big deal because getting all those people on the same page is never easy. And then how you're going to stick with it, because what the book really uncovers and I think speaks very openly about is the fact that we talk about change and transformation. On the surface, we might be even saying to our bosses, we're on it, we're doing it. It might even look like that on our dashboards. However, oftentimes people do revert to their old ways. The change in system maybe weakens, the habits weaken as you move forward and people move on to other transformation projects and other initiatives. And so this really is a reminder that you have to stick with it. You have to deploy certain aspects of the frameworks to make sure people stick with you and stick with the change. So I recommend this book to anyone who's going through a transformative experience and is looking for a framework to get through it. It's also a great read for leaders who want to bring team members along for the ride in a transformation project. But anyone who is struggling with transformative AI, which is probably most of us right about now, should take a look. It gives you the backbone to understand people, consider their feelings, and do the work of helping them adjust in times of change. And if you're like me, it will help you understand yourself in a time of change as well. I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on the book, and we'll be on to the next book review next time around. Thanks so much for listening.